What's going on, everyone? Brad here. In this video, I'm gonna be tackling round 2 of my Forge and Fire Redemption. Like I said in yesterday's video, if you don't want any spoilers, go watch the episode and then come back. I'll have some episode info in the description down below. Just like before, I'm gonna have 3 hours on the clock and I will be handling and putting finishing touches on the blade that I forged in round 1. Before I started this round, I went ahead and did a quick torch temper because this thing doesn't fit in my tempering oven and I don't have a big, huge kiln here, so did a torch temper. I hope that holds up well for the tests. All right, I am setting the clock for 3 hours. As you can see, it is 2:33 p.m. All right, the clock has started, so let's get going. We got 3 hours. All right, so I've been working on this design. I'm kind of going with a little bit of an axe handle shape here. You can see I've got a little bit of a fawn's foot. This is such a huge folding sword. I mean, it's so awkward. All right, so when my blade is here on a pivot point, you can see that the tang, it rides within the handle, and I want that tang to be along the side. So I'm gonna go ahead and change my pivot point, and I don't want it too close to this one, so I'm gonna actually move it up, and we'll be putting a pivot point somewhere about there, and that should ride pretty nicely, and then it also matches up pretty nicely in this direction. And I'll leave a little bit of extra meat on this handle just to play it safe. So I think this is the design that I'm gonna go with. Can't say that it's gonna work for sure, but I got 3 hours and I'm gonna do the best that I can. All right, first things first, I'm gonna go ahead and try to move this pivot point. This blade is hardened. I did do an edge quench. I'm not sure how effective this was. I might have to soften the tang, but let's see. All right, I'm making progress on the hole. It's starting to bite up a little bit. The steel inside's pretty hard. I'm gonna go ahead and start this with a smaller drill bit and step up to that 1/4 inch size. All right, just got through. God, that must have taken 10 minutes. I'm gonna go check the clock. 2:48, 12 minutes down. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get this blade polished, and I'm gonna make sure that all this material is nice and smooth all through the pivot point and the tang, because I don't want any interruption in the folding mechanism. All right, this is how we're looking. Looking pretty good, nice and uniform. All right, moving on to the handle. I'm gonna get my design cut out and transfer it over onto the wood. And this is the material that I'm using for a handle of this size. I can't use, any of the nice exotic woods that I have, but I do have this piece of ipe. I've never used this before. This was given to me a couple months ago, but this is so dense and so heavy. I know that it's gonna make a good handle. This stuff is dense. That was definitely a bit rough on the miter saw, and my plan with this is to go ahead and get the handle shaped and get the holes drilled and then split it down the middle on the table saw. I know that my bandsaw can't handle this, but now I am wondering if my table saw can. But if it doesn't work, I'll find a way around it. Now, unfortunately, because of the fawn's foot, I'm gonna have to come in from both sides to clear out waste material. But I'm gonna go ahead and get myself a starter line here. All right, let's go ahead and try to remove this waste material. All right, I'm gonna see if I can do this using the depth stop on the miter saw here. All right, now for a series of relief cuts. All right, relief cuts are done. So I'm gonna go ahead and just pop these all out with a chisel over at the vise. We are already almost an hour down. You can see the time, if it'll focus. Just about 2 hours left, so that time went by so fast. All I did was touch up the blade of the grinder a little bit, make some relief cuts. So I have 2 hours to finish polishing the blade, finish sharpening the blade, and get a friction folder handle assembled. I definitely feel the clock. I'm feeling the clock. It's about to get extremely dusty in here. I got the handle rough shaped. Ipe is a very slivery wood, but I think that I can get it smooth enough to be comfortable in the hand. Here is the handle, rough shaped, and the blade. So I need to figure out this pivot point, figure out how I'm gonna get this to sit in here real nicely. I'm feeling pretty good about this design. I think this is gonna be pretty nice. I'm gonna figure out where the holes go, and then I'm gonna get the holes drilled, then I'll get that board ripped into 2 scales. Got the holes drilled. All right, so this is for the pivot point right up front here. This pin right here is going to be where the blade catches when it closes, and this back one is just a little bit extra for support. All right, it's been a little while since I used a table saw. For those of you who remember, I had a pretty popular outfeed table build video. Totally got rid of that thing. I don't use the table saw enough for it to take up that much space. Hopefully this thing works still. It's been quite a while. An hour 47 left on the clock. We'll get this cut up, and hopefully we can go ahead and get it pinned together and make sure that it all moves freely. Got them all smoothed out. I don't think I've ever got so many slivers in my life. This is very reminiscent of mahogany or cedar. It's very slivery. Back to the drawing board. All right, so here's the handle material. The idea is these will be sitting like this. We've got 2 pieces. The blade will be inside. There's our new pivot point right there. So that is going to be lining up with this. And we'll put the pencil there for now. And this will turn, and it will just touch the pin right here. The back pin will be for extra strength. So when this is all together, it will look like that. Looks pretty good. Time to go ahead and figure out the pins. All right, so I'm gonna be using 1/4" steel pin, as well as some small washers with a 1/4" hole. That way I can peen the pins over and create a tight fit, because without pressure, there's no friction. All right, now for a little bit of test fitting. This is gonna be a tight fit. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and pin these scales together temporarily, and then I'll go ahead and shape it and pull them apart, stick the blade in, and see how it works. All right, back to the grinder. time to make this thing a little more ergonomic. I'm gonna hog off the material that I don't need and create a more comfortable handle. And we are at an hour 30. That happens sometimes with a homemade grinder. This thing costs about 50 bucks. All right, so as I'm shaping this, I'm realizing it's a little bit uncomfortable. It's just too much to hold on to, and especially with that tang, it's just gonna be a little bit wider. It's gonna be pretty uncomfortable. So I'm dropping this material just a little bit, and then I'm thinning out these scales so that this is nice and comfortable during testing. Just hitting the 1 hour mark. You can see that I am at 1:07. It is 4:26 p.m. Handle is coming out great. Shaping it just like an axe handle, but I am keeping the tang in mind. I know that it's gonna be a little bit wider. When the tang is in place, it's still pretty nice. I might remove just a little bit more material, but I still have to take it up to a higher grit anyway. This thing is a monster. Folding sword, this is gonna be sweet. The tang is just long enough to be able to get 2 hands onto it. This thing is just so ridiculously impractical, but definitely fun to make, and it's gonna be pretty cool to see this when it's all put together. I am very excited to test this thing, that's for sure. So I've got 1 hour left. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get this handle up to a higher grit. I'm gonna take this blade up to a higher grit. I'm gonna put that secondary bevel on. I'm gonna get it all put together, make sure that it moves freely and it works good, and then slip those washers over the pins, peen the pins, and get the handle oiled and call it done. This has been fun. Tiring, but fun. And I've made a mess on the floor. It felt like I was walking on carpet, but actually, it's just a big pile of Ipe sawdust. These scales pulled apart. Time to go ahead and clean up the fawn's foot and the front area where the pins were blocking me before. I've got these up to about 180 grit, running out of time, and I really want to hit about 400, but I need to focus on the blade right now, so I'm going to try to bring this up to a higher polish. So I am down to 40 minutes and 55 seconds. Okay, I have this blade right now up to about 800 grit, but you know, just for aesthetic's sake, I'm gonna go ahead and take this up to 1000 grit to give it a little bit of a nicer finish. I really wanted to etch it. I had a really nice temper line after my edge quench, but I think that I'm gonna be cutting it a little bit too close to etch it because that just takes 10 minutes itself, soaking in the acid. So I'm gonna go ahead and skip that step. The handles are really, really rough, but they're looking pretty good. Actually, the oil on my hand makes that look a lot nicer. Time to go ahead and put a secondary bevel on this real quick and make sure it's nice and sharp. skin is covered in sawdust, but I mean, but you can kind of see the hair on that edge there. All right, a little behind schedule here. Let's see, we are at 26 minutes. I was hoping to be peening the pins at 30 minutes, but at least we got a sharp blade and the handle's looking good, so let's see how this goes. It's time to get it all pinned together. It's amazing what a mess I can make in a shop in such a small period of time. I'm trying to be careful not to trip over stuff all over the floor. There's cords and sawdust and pieces of wood everywhere. God, where are the pins? Where are the pins? All right, time for assembly. Alright, now for the back. And I totally forgot I need a spacer on the inside. Alright, so I had the front together, and now that it's going together, I totally forgot that I need a spacer in the back. So thankfully these washers actually fit the pins perfectly, so I'm gonna see if I can dig out a stack of those. Now in order to make this happen, these need to be just about the same thickness as the tang, and it looks like 2 washers will do it. Alright, these aren't the same, but these should work all right. Oh, I've already lost my other pin. Where did it go? Oh gosh, it's right there. Right in front of me. Alright, this should be good, and if it is too loose, I will remove a washer. This is looking good. We got friction. It's not even peened. Okay. Woohoo, look at that. Look at that. That's what I'm talking about. I still need one more pin in the back, but wow. You know, I was really excited about this, and I've had a lot of confidence going into it, but it's actually, it feels a lot better than I expected, which is great. All right, things are going well. Not so well that I should be picking up the camera and walking away from the project, but we've got 19 minutes, 30 seconds left, and I have to stick one more pin in there, and then I'm gonna peen the front pin to make sure it's nice and tight, and proceed to oil the handle with some boiled linseed oil. And this thing is going to be sweet. I'm thinking I have to peen the one in the back as well. Let's go ahead and deal with this one in front. Oh God, that's tight. All right, I don't know. I might have to actually just peen that to the wood. Okay, I've got this peened. It is tight, like really tight, but that's good. It's a friction folder and it has friction. The front pin I ended up just peening to the wood. I didn't have enough washers to fit, and I'm just totally out of time. This back one hasn't been peened. I'm just gonna go ahead and flush it up. It's only there for a little bit of extra strength. Overall, oh God. Gotta wash my fingers when I close this thing. I've got 3 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock, and I'm gonna go ahead and use that time to clean up the pins. Maybe I'm painting through what I'm told to do. We got 1 minute and 15 seconds. I'm gonna throw some oil on this handle. I'm gonna keep it light because I don't want to have to sand off a ton of raised grain. Oh, 30 seconds left. Let's see if we can get some wax. Throwing some wax on here last minute. Ooh, there's the timer. I wanted to catch the last few seconds, but there we go. There's our 3 hours. Hands are down. let's see our progress here. Look at this monster. Look at that thing. This thing is sweet and I cannot wait to test it. This actually feels really good in the hand. And I'm actually impressed with myself for the amount of time that I had. All right, well, Forged in Fire is no joke. It is a very real competition. It's very intense. The time frame is ridiculous. And anybody who has ever been a part of it has my full respect. There is no way being in my home forge that I can properly recreate the exact experience. The challenges are insane and it is very impressive just turning something in that small window of time. I'm very excited to have completed the challenge here in my home forge. If anybody else wants to go out and try this, I recommend you be very careful. I cut myself up quite a bit in a few different spots, and you know, when you're going that fast, you're not paying as close of attention, and it gets pretty dangerous. So, you know, do this at your own risk. Don't forget proper personal protective equipment, and make sure you've got a clean shop, because if your shop is dirty, it's not safe. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and thank you so much for joining me here for round 2 of my Forged in Fire redemption. Stay tuned, because pretty soon you will see me test this weapon, and I'm gonna do my best to recreate the challenges that we had on the show. If you've made it this far and you still have not gone and checked out my episode, please do. I worked with some incredible smiths on that show, Steve, John, and Joe, and I highly recommend you guys check them out. Time to clean the hell out of the shop and go get some sleep. Thank you all so much. I'll catch you next time.